Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Rooster AM. It's Ryan Nelson. Today we have a really cool guest, Mary Aiaka Kent. Get ready to step into the living room of a lonely musical theater fan and fall headfirst into the glitzy, glamorous, and glorious over-the-top world of the Drowsy Chaperone that is going to be coming here to Enid soon. As the records spin and the rooms transform, a forgotten 1920s musical springs to life, complete with tap dancing gangsters, a tipsy chaperone, a bride with cold feet, and a whole lot of jazz hands. It's fast, it's fun, it's self aware. So pour a fizzy drink, let the music begin, because once the needle drops, there's no turning back. This isn't a show, this is an escape. Welcome to the Drowsy Chaperone, and we have with us one of the actresses, Mary. Mary is so much more than just an actress. She's a playwright. She has done so much, and not only that, I love to highlight my alumni, the Oklahoma State people. The best come from Oklahoma State. I'm not kidding. No. The theater world, people don't realize it's really good. Oklahoma State is really good at what they do. So let's start off, and I'm going to ask you a simple question to get you going.
Okay.
What introduced you to the theater world?
What introduced me to the theater world? So my dad, Tom Lentz, actually was an Air Force pilot, but he studied theater at the University of Wyoming, and his major was in theater and his minor was in dance, and he was an ROTC. So, like most pilots. And when I was in the third grade, we were stationed in Montgomery, Alabama, and my dad, for whatever reason, inappropriate or not, took me to see Little Shop of Horrors, and we sat on the front row, and I was immediately hooked. And I told my dad, I want to do that. I want to be in the Little Shop of Horrors. I was 9, and I want to be on stage. And my dad said, okay.
Did you ever get that opportunity to do Little Shop of Horrors?
No, I've never gotten the opportunity, and I'm so bummed. My dad actually directed it here at the Gaslight in 96 when I was at OSU, and I came home and I saw it, and it was amazing. And I always wanted to direct it, but when my husband, who was in the Army, we were stationed in Washington 3 years ago by Seattle, and they actually did it at the Gaslight. And they have this rule where you have to wait 10 years before you can do another show. And I was so bummed because I wanted to direct it when we moved home. So, no, I've not.
That's kind of a weird rule, because some theaters do like Rocky Horror every year.
Yeah, they do every fall.
So it's like a thing, or you might do the Christmas Carol every year.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a weird rule, but hey, if that's their rule, that's their rule. I get it too, because you don't want it to be the same.
Right, and you never know with community theater. You kind of have a similar troupe of actors to pull from, unless you get new people. So you don't want to see the same show, I guess, with the same people on stage again. But yeah, so my dad was like, "What do you want to do?" So I started taking singing lessons and dance lessons and gymnastics, and was a cheerleader, and started auditioning for shows and got really involved in high school. My fourth high school was Enid High. Moved here my senior year, and I was in Romeo and Juliet and Fiddler on the Roof. And then, of course, I went to OSU my senior year of high school and saw a production of Sweeney Todd. And I was like, this is where I want to go to college, and this is what I want to study. And so I did. And so,
What was your highlight of OSU?
oh my gosh, there were so many highlights. I was in a chorus line my freshman year, directed by B. Peter Westerhoff, who's one of my favorite professors. It was amazing. We hosted the theater, what it's called, the regional, where all the colleges come and they perform, not Octa, but something like that. We hosted it my sophomore year at OSU, and that was really cool to load in all the shows. I also got really close to Scott in the workshop. I got a scholarship and was the undergraduate student in charge of the scene shop my sophomore year on. So I was in charge every afternoon of like the painters and the welders and the carpenters. And
there's a lot of work that goes on.
Oh my gosh,
people don't know. I was the stagecraft classes. I was not the best in, but it made me have a whole new appreciation. I was like, as someone who was doing a lot of the acting in the front, it was like when you realize what's going on in the back, you're like, oh my gosh, the hours they put in way more hours than I put in as an actor.
And freshmen had to work in the scene shop, so I was kind of over them for a while. Some of my favorite shows, I was in the Diviners my junior year, I think, and we did Pirates of Penzance. That was great. God, what else did we do? The Tempest. Our Town was my very first show. I remember I auditioned. I was a freshman, and everyone said, "Freshmen aren't going to get cast. You're not going to get cast." And I was like, "Okay." And then I auditioned, and Rena Cook, who I still am friends with to today, she was like, Aiaka, I want you. And she cast me. And I was like one of two freshmen in that show. And I just remember thinking, okay, this is cool. I can maybe do this.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was a lot. I loved it.
And I was very fortunate because I was right after you, probably about a year after.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate because the group that I was with, my goodness, they're all over the place. Like everybody walked out of that place and made a stamp in the entertainment.
You had some talented people in your class for sure. Absolutely.
It was something. And I was in Romeo and Juliet. I played Tybalt.
Nice.
That was one of the
Played
highest.
the nurse.
I was in Glengarry, Glen Ross.
Oh, I want to see that on Broadway so bad.
I did Grease when I was
Nice.
younger. Man, I've just probably 30 productions total if I really counted them up. And then I just stopped because I was smart. Everybody else, I was smart. I got out while I was ahead.
Yeah.
And so that's, but no, it's fun because, that's a free plug for OSU. It's
OSU Theater Department. Go Pokes all the way.
Yeah. So you've done the acting, the singing, and you started doing playwright work.
So
notice you really emphasize children.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. That's interesting.
Well, so my kind of long story short, too late. I went for OSU, and then I decided I wanted to go to nursing school. So I became a nurse, and I was a nurse for 20 years. I worked in critical care and surgery, and my husband was in the Army for 28 years, and we lived all over the country. And we were in Seattle when COVID hit, and I decided I didn't want to be a nurse anymore. And my husband and I had been talking about what I kind of wanted to do when we got to Enid. And rewind, in 2009, we were in Enid, and my sons were very young. And I wanted to take them to see theater because my family's a theater family. I love theater. And really, there was nowhere in Enid to see theater. You had to go to Tulsa or Oklahoma City. And that's it's not a long drive, but when you have like a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, it's a long drive. So I was like, we have the Gaslight. Why are we not doing shows? So I presented to the board in February of 2009 and asked them if I could put on a children's show. So it's theater for kids, adults doing live theater with a teaching element. So I wrote a grant, and we got a grant. They finally agreed and said yes. And for the first show we did was Hansel and Gretel. And the Gaslight still does children's theater every spring since I started that in 2009. Even when I didn't live here, they continue to do it. And it's really great. I created the character, it already existed, of Mother Goose. And she's the narrator. So I wrote all of her lines, and she comes out and explains to kids, this is a play, because some kids have never been to a play. This is what you do. You clap, or you can boo, or in about 30 minutes, we're going to have an intermission. It's like a commercial break where you go to the bathroom and get a drink of water. The actors get a drink of water. They change clothes. So it had that teaching element because I started to notice that, and maybe, I don't know, it was a premonition, but theater arts and arts programs in schools were starting to go away, and you were having to get that from other sources. And I just thought, we have this amazing resource in Enid, we should use it. So then cut to, we moved back to Enid 3 years ago, and my husband retired, and I wanted to direct again, and I wanted to direct a show for kids, and I couldn't find any online that had that sort of old vaudevillian silliness and shenanigans with live music and chase scenes, what kids love, because I have 3 kids, I know what kids love. And so my husband was like, you've always wanted to write a play. And I've written over the years so many plays that are so bad, and they're in drawers and they'll never see the light of day. And he was like, why don't you write or adapt a play? So I sat down and just started writing. And I wrote an adaptation of Hansel and Gretel, and we did it 2 years ago, and it got published. And then the next one I wrote was Three Pigs. And then I've written 5 more since, and I'm writing more. And then my friend Riley is a web designer, so I called him and said, okay, I need help. I know nothing about technology. So I created a website, and I joined the Dramatists Guild, which was kind of always been a dream of mine, especially since Lin-Manuel Miranda is now our vice president. Can't wait to meet him. But yeah, so that's kind of what happened, and that's how it's kind of, my website just went live a couple of months ago. And
what's the website?
It's fairytalesonstage.com.
Fairytales on Stage. And you can, and this is, people think that a script is only good for a show to promote.
Right.
No, get a script you can read it. Read it with your kids. Let them pick apart. Let them read it while you're growing up.
Yeah.
Like when you're sitting in your bedroom, say, today you're going to play this character and I'll play this one.
That's such a great idea.
It's a fun way to connect with your kid. I mean, you have Red Riding Hood.
I have Red Riding Hood, Hansel and Gretel, the Three Little Pigs, the sisters Rose Red and Snow White, which I'm directing at the Gaslight this coming March, Rumpelstiltskin. I just finished writing Elves and the Shoemaker. It's not been sent off yet. And I'm working on Goldilocks and the Three Bears and then the Billy Goat's Gruff. So
that's impressive. It's fun.
It's
fun. And people miss out on this. Like we have the theater is slowly dying.
Yeah.
But I believe there could be a resurgence.
I think there will be.
And I think it's going to happen because what you are getting fed on TV now is almost all special effects.
Yeah.
It's going to be AI driven. It's not going to be human.
Right.
Theater will always stay human.
Yeah.
And so there's a human element to the arts, and you'll get it in the theater. And it is like there is a massive difference between when I was in London at the Globe than what you're going to get at Gaslight. Right. It's going to be a massive difference.
Yes.
But the heart of it is still there.
And not only the heart of it. Oh, I'm sorry.
And there are very talented people. There are a lot of talented people. It's not like it was 30 years ago when you went to a local theater. It was like, Joe and Aunt May putting on a show. Like now you have people who have literally studied, graduated with degrees, and they're in local theater and they do it because it's a passion, something they love. It's not their way of making money, which makes it better. And here's why. And this is to help everyone understand the passion behind a production of a local production. College football players. People say college football is the best to watch because they play it because they love it.
Yeah.
But when they get to the NFL, it's not as exciting. It's the same thing about theater. When you're in a local theater, they're doing it because they're passionate. They love it. Once you get paid a check, it now becomes a career and a business.
Right.
And it's not about the passion of the project. And that's where I transformed. Like I loved theater until I got the opportunity to get paid. Right. And then people were like, wait, you're not taking the opportunity to get paid? And I'm like, no, because when I walked into it and saw it, I was like, this is no longer the theater I loved.
Right.
That's not what it is. Yeah. And so I'll just go to a local theater if I want to. And I haven't. And I've been told.
Well, you're going to come in July.
I've been told over and over, why are you not going? Because when you grow old, you get busy, you make money. I got a wife and a kid in the evenings. Do I want to spend it with them or in rehearsal? Yeah. But I also think I could always take on something very small, a little small role.
Definitely. Yeah.
But it's a beautiful thing, and people should not ignore. They should really start to support what we're doing locally here. And how do you, as an actress, director, writer, how are you balancing all of the arts with your real life?
That's an excellent question. First, I want to say something you said earlier that I want to dovetail on is that theater, the reason I also love theater so much is it's accessible to anybody. Not everybody can go to the Globe, but people can come. We offer free Shakespeare here every year, and it's free. And people can come see Shakespeare done really well for free. So if maybe you can't go to the Globe or you can't go to the PAC in Tulsa or somewhere, you can go to theater. And that's what I love. And how am I managing it? Well, I'm very selective. I have 2 sons in college, and I have an 8-year-old, and I have a husband. So I'm writing all the time. I am very selective about which shows I do. So if I do a summer show, I don't do anything in the fall. I take a break and we watch a lot of football, OSU, and I do a lot of that stuff. And if I'm going to direct, I only direct 1 show a year, and I try to only be in 1 show a year. So then I know I have that 7 to 8 week commitment or 6 week commitment that I'm focused on that. Mm-hmm. And I do have, it's a luxury, but since I do work from home now and I write during the day, I do feel like I do everything I need to do during the day, and then in the evenings, because I'm very much a person when I'm doing something, I'm focused on that one thing. I'm kind of compartmentalizing things. So when I'm focused on theater, when I'm at rehearsal, I'm ready to rehearse. I'm off book. I'm stretching. I'm ready, only doing that. I'm not thinking about other things. And when I'm home, I'm thinking about that. But I think I've learned that as I've gotten older with maturity. I did not handle it well when I was younger. I feel like I was like tired all the time and running around, but I had energy too. I didn't have responsibilities. So I just think as you get older, you learn to sort of compartmentalize things and you pick what's important. And spending time with my family is very important. So when I'm with my family, I'm very present. And then when I'm with my friends at the theater, I'm very present for them because they rely on me in the cast as their scene partners. So that's kind of how I feel like I manage it.
When you write these scripts out, do you test them on kids?
I do sometimes. My poor daughter, I do. And the scripts are now I write them and there's two versions. So there's an adult version, so there's a version for adults doing shows for kids, and then I've written a version where kids could do it. So if a local school or a community center or a church wanted to get it and they say maybe had more than 10 kids that wanted to do it, they had 20 kids, they could add woodland creatures. So I try to make it accessible, but sometimes the jokes are over their heads a little bit because I am a product of the 80s and my jokes are ridiculous. But I do test it on my daughter quite a bit, and she likes a lot of the inappropriate like fart jokes or the the stuff that kills for the 8-year-old crowd. So yeah.
So is there a theme that you always go back to? Is there like I mean, I know you're kind of adapting stories.
I'm adapting fairy tales, but yes, I wouldn't say that there's a theme, but there's maybe a through line. I always try to have several chase scenes in there. I always want to have live music, and I recommend that they have live music, sort of like an old vaudevillian show. So there's a piano player playing live. So when the villain comes on, you hear the dun dun dun. Oh, here comes the villain. Or do you remember the old cartoons we used to watch, like Bugs Bunny, and how they had the underscore of music? I love that. So that's kind of what I try to incorporate into all my shows.
That's awesome. That's fun.
Thanks.
The So what is the challenge when taking a bunch of children and you're taking a play and turning it into a stage?
Oh, so are you asking me about directing children? Or are you asking about
Directing, first the directing of children, and then the reaction of children who come in to watch.
Oh, that's pretty amazing. So I've been pretty blessed. So my shows right now that we've done at the Gaslight have all been adults performing, which I think is hysterical because I think it's so much funnier when you have like a 45-year-old man in a giant goose costume.
Yeah.
To me, that's hysterical, and the kids find it funny. So I direct adults. And so that's been interesting. It's been interesting to teach the adults kind of how to be kid-like and to let go of their inhibitions, because a lot of my scripts are very silly and over the top, and there's a lot of bump jokes and chase scenes. And I love physical comedy. I'm a physical comedy girl. And so I put a lot of physical comedy in my shows, people falling over things or knocking themselves over. And so teaching them that and directing that has always been fun. The best thing are the kids' reactions. A lot of kids have never seen a play, never even been in a theater. We This last year we did Three Little Pigs, which my son Sam directed and I wrote it. And I just stood in the lobby and listened, and there were people from all over Enid, the East Side, other places that had said, "We've never even been in here. We've never even seen a show live," and they came back the next weekend and bought more tickets. And they said, "Our kids loved it. Our kids want it." And what also is really cool, when I started the Children's Theater in 2009, there are kids in the teen program at Gaslight that saw my production of Hansel and Gretel and wanted to do theater and then joined the Gaslight Teens. So I feel like it's kind of working. My evil plan, it's not evil. My plan is working.
It is working.
Yeah.
And I'm right now, because I can almost guarantee this will get probably at least a minimum of 1,000 views. Yay. Up to 5. Okay. Right. So right now there are people listening, and if you have children, and people always talk about there's nothing to do in Enid.
Exactly.
There actually is. You just have to know where.
Yes.
And that's go down and grab a schedule at the Gaslight. Your kids will love it. I think I've only done one children's theater before.
Yeah.
It was kind of like I have to do it, say I did it kind of thing. And it was the Frog Prince.
Oh yeah, I directed that a couple years ago.
and it's weird because I the role that I had when I got it, I was like, wait, you're casting me as a tree,
Yeah.
But they were like, yeah, but it's the wicked oak, and it's like the oh
evil
yeah,
tree,
all right, so
yeah.
cool, all right, I dig that. But I just remember the reaction.
Yeah.
The children's reaction was bigger than any adult
Yeah.
reaction I'd ever got, and they were locked in. The kids get locked in and they love it. And so if you have a kid and you're like, well, I don't know if my kid will like it.
Oh, they will.
Give them 5 minutes, they'll get locked in and they will love it. If it's done right,
Yeah.
they'll get locked in and they'll love it.
I found that what is so interesting is with our shows, and we saw this with the last two shows we did, Hansel and Gretel and then Three Pigs, we'll have kids in the audience that are 4 or 5 years old, little boys, and the witch comes on and says something, and the little boy will say, he's over there, he's hiding. I mean, they're so tuned in to what you're doing. And that's another thing, is my plays are very short on purpose. The first act is 30 minutes with a 10-minute intermission where they get a snack, and then 30 more minutes. Right. And that really, for parents, helps them too, because then they know, okay, this is going to be short. But again, I write it so that parents will get the jokes. Because I know as a mom, sometimes you go see stuff with your kids and you're like, oh, this is great. And you're just like wishing you were not there. And so it's good for parents too.
But the good thing is, if you watch your children, it'll be entertaining just to watch your
They're
kids.
hysterical, and they clap, and they just get so excited, and they boo when the evil fairy comes on. They're like, boo, and and they want to come back, and they ask for it every year. And so when I decided to do this and start the website, Riley, my friend, Riley Jansen, he's a web designer, he was like, he researched it for me. And he was like, this is a niche market, Mary. There's not a lot of people that write scripts for adults to perform for children at this caliber, or for kids to do. And so I just thought, I thought that was really sad, because I thought there would be a lot more. And it just shows me what's going on with the arts. But also I thought that's really cool, because I really, just hearing about the teens growing up, and I even like last week I talked to a mom who said, what are you guys doing for children's theater this year? And I said, we're doing Rose Red and Snow White. And she said, are you directing? And I said, yes. And I wrote it. And she was like, I want to know the dates. We want to get tickets. And it's, I don't even know what month it is. It's June. That's crazy to me that people are already like excited.
They should probably, I know you, because they opened up that little space next
The Turpin, yes.
Yeah, the Turpin. They should probably try to at least have one every quarter.
Well, so that was my dad started the Dynamos here in Enid a bazillion years ago. It was at Leonardo's, and they were for elementary school kids, and it was theater, and he taught them theater, and they had classes in stage makeup. This is all when I was at OSU. And his dream, he's a little too old now and he wouldn't do that, but he's going to hear this and be upset I said that, but he always wanted to have a children's like theater program, like at an old abandoned church, and once a month do shows, or bring people in and teach them classes. And because there's such a need, we do have a drama camp at the Gaslight that runs in the month of June, which is going on right now for the elementary kids, and they do have the Gaslight Teens, which is in the afternoon. But if you look at the high schools and the middle schools around here, they don't have drama programs. Enid High is the only one.
Well, OBA does.
They do. Bonnie does stuff at OBA, yes.
And OBA, and they I went and watched it because my son goes there.
Oh, I didn't know that. My niece just graduated from there. My brother teaches there. My brother, Dr. Lentz, he teaches science and physics and all the smart stuff that I don't know.
Yeah, it's
my younger brother.
My son has him in class.
Oh, well, you can tell him Dr. Lentz is my brother, and if he needs me to, I can whip him into shape. But
maybe he gives you that extra credit.
Yeah, but my niece Eliza just graduated, and she did Into the Woods, and then they did, she was in A Christmas Carol when they did it last Christmas. But yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That is fine. It's sad, though, that these other places don't have it. So right now, the community theater is what's going to be shaping.
Yeah.
How do you see that? What do you see their role right now? Just to introduce people, or?
Yeah, I feel like their role is to introduce people to theater. I feel like it's the only theater in Enid. It is the only theater in Enid. And Gaslight's like the oldest theater in Oklahoma. Is that correct? I may need to research that. I think I've been told that. And so I feel like their role is to introduce people to theater, to bring kids to theater. They do that with the drama camp. We do that with children's theater, which I'm so glad they never discontinued. That was one of my fears when Chris got orders, is, I'm not going to do children's theater anymore. And they just kept doing it. So, Yeah, I feel like that's a rule, but I feel like
when Chris what?
when my husband got orders and we had to move away from Enid, I had started the children's theater and then we
Got it.
got orders to Missouri. We'd only done 3 years and I thought, oh goodness, are they going to? Because it's so easy to stop doing something, you know?
Well, in theater, children's theater is not okay, and this is
It's not a priority always,
well, and
unfortunately.
it doesn't, and I'm gonna make a lot of people mad.
That's okay.
Like in the entertainment world, like directors, actors, all of this, even playwrights, all of them. So much of what keeps them going is feeding their ego, and when you're not in children's theater, doesn't feed your ego.
Yeah.
It is literally something that you do to serve the children.
Right.
And that's really, you'll see a lot of people with a servant's heart doing the children's theater because they don't want to do it. People don't want to do it because they're like, well, what, I'm going to impress 50 kids,
some 5-year-old,
some 5-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, okay, great, good for me. Or I could go do Shakespeare and make everybody think I'm amazing.
Exactly.
You know, like I'm not going to waste my time with that.
Yeah.
But what they don't understand is what you're doing is you're building a future out of those kids.
That's
right. And that could be partially part of the problem of what we have today. You have these kids who sit all day and play video games all day long. And here's the thing about a video game. And I find this very interesting, is that there are games that people play where they take on a role.
Oh yeah, those role play games. Yeah,
and they play that role, and they get so engaged, and they fall in love with the world, and they're walking through it. But that's all digital, and you can do it for real, right over here.
Open your window.
Yeah, like you can go to the theater and live in that world, and you can create your own world. You can live through it. I believe theater is for children who are in doing it. Mm-hmm. It's one of the best therapies you can possibly have.
100%. 100%.
I think that, see, I grew up in a church that you would tell me being an actor is being a liar. Oh, you know, like you're pretending to be something you're not. So you're lying to people and it's a sin. No, I think it's one of the best therapies you can possibly have. Yeah. When you walk through the eyes of other people, and you see things through their perspective, you start to learn empathy. Yeah, you do. You start to learn empathy. Now, expressing empathy and learning empathy are two separate things.
It's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, I struggle with expressing empathy, but I do have it. Like I can see things and say, wow, well, you didn't see it from this perspective. Right. And I actually played a role one time where you looked at it from that perspective, and then you're like, wow, okay. Not only that, when you have so much in you, you can let it out.
You need an outlet.
You can let it out right there,
which so many kids don't have nowadays.
They don't, and they go crazy.
And it's also good because I think it's good for kids to see adults being silly and having fun and telling a story. And all of my fairy tales sort of have a moral underlying story that I, be a good friend, be honest, don't lie. It's all in there. And when I'm writing it, I think about that, but it's not the driving force that's pushing it. But they also, it's like I said, it's really good. Kids love when adults lock into them and are really focused and they know they're doing something for them. And that's the entire point of children's theaters. They get to see these adults are being silly and they're having fun. And like you said, some kids may see that and then, like I did when I was in 3rd grade, even though it was Little Shop of Horrors, they might go, I want to do that.
What's wrong with Little Shop of Horrors?
I love Little Shop of Horrors.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
I know, when I was like 9, it's like the plant kills and eats people. And I mean, I was a product of the 80s, so of course I watched all that stuff.
Well, and we used to run around outside and drink out of water hoses.
Well, we disappeared for hours, and my mom was like, come on with the street lights, come on.
That's what I said.
They have no idea where we are for hours.
And now it's like, you don't leave the house without your app on your phone.
Where's your find a phone?
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's also, too, what you said about the AI and the being in chat rooms and like being in different worlds. I think kids, I have 2 my sons are 21 and 20, and we didn't give them cell phones till they were 16. It was a hard, fast rule in our house, and we got so much cred for that. My son played football, and he was like, you can't pick me up from the football field out of a late game because you can't get a hold of me. And I was like, the coaches know what time you'll be there. I'll sit with a book in the parking lot at 2 a.m. But later, both of my sons have now told me, we're so glad, Mom, you waited, because we know how to hold conversations and we know how to go into a setting and sit down with our friends and have lunch, and we're not on our phones, and we actually appreciate stuff. And so I haven't done a whole lot of things right with my older kids, I feel like, but have done some. And I've like encouraging them, like you said, to pay attention to the actual outside world is so important.
It is here's something that I've taught people, and it works. If you are a young man watching today and you want to impress a lady on a date, okay, what you do is you take your phone, you literally hit the power button, you power it off completely, you flip it upside down, and you set it across the table, and then you look at them.
Because you're engaged.
Yeah, and now you're engaged. Yeah. And don't tell them to do the same, no. But they can't help but put their phone down when they see that you have turned the power off, and you're saying that world is not going to interfere with our world right now. Right, 100%. And you can do that with anyone. You can do that with a friend.
Yeah.
You do that with a colleague.
My phone is locked in my purse. I don't even know where it's at.
But there is something about, like, because here's the thing. What if in the middle of this conversation you're talking and I'm like, yeah.
I would ask you to put your phone down. Yeah. I'd be like, is everything okay? Is something going on?
No, I'm good. I'm just.
Oh, I would be so annoyed. I wouldn't say it because it's your podcast, but I would be. My face would say it. You would see it.
Oh man, let me see how many likes I got.
I'd be so annoyed with you.
Oh, what? Oh, so and so commented on the. Oh, hey, check out this video. Like you're with someone and you're saying, look at this video. Like it's all, and theater does help that.
Yeah.
So if your kids are very socially awkward, put them in theater.
100%. Yeah.
And I remember growing up, I was like I would play baseball and football, and really my theater journey is weird. It's a weird one. Have you ever seen Glee?
Yeah, I have.
You know that very first episode of Glee where he's in the locker room singing the song, and someone hears him singing? Yes. That's basically what happened to me.
Stole that from you.
Yeah, I mean it's the same thing, and it wasn't no joke. Within a week after they discovered that I could sing, they were like, "This is kind of funny." Right, I'll share with you. It's not about you. It's about me. It's kind of like it's kind of funny. So I basically got kicked off my baseball team for something I didn't do. To this day, they still believe but I didn't.
Okay, and it's okay. I believe you.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
I believe you.
Because it all worked out. So they kicked me off the baseball team, and it was like 2 weeks left before the season was over. And so they were like, what do you do? What's your elective going to be? Because you can't go. Right. So they were like, well, find something. And I was like, I don't care, whatever. And there was this girl in the classroom that I thought was the world.
Oh, okay. Right? All right.
And there was, and then, so the teacher came in class and he said, listen, you come to the class, I know that you probably don't want to be here, but if you audition and you really give it your 100%, even if you get a part or not, I will give you an A in the class.
Wow.
Because there was like
such a guy thing, by the way.
But there was only like a couple months left. You know, it was like I hadn't been there the whole year. I felt so out of place. I was like, I don't know why I'm here. And he goes, just do it. Just give it a go. Yeah. I said, okay. So I said, under one condition. And he goes, what's that? I go, that I get to sit by that girl for the rest of the year. Oh
my gosh.
And he was like, okay. So I went in and I auditioned.
See my eye roll.
and I gave it my all because I wanted to sit by that girl.
You wanted to impress her.
Yeah, and the cast sheet came out, and as I was walking down the hall, people were just walking up to me saying, "Congratulations, congratulations!" And I was like, "What the heck are they congratulating me for?" And then I went down, and coming to find out, I got the lead role in Grease.
Nice. So you were Danny Zuko?
Yeah. And I was like, "You've got to be freaking kidding me!" Well, when we ran it, they extended it because it was just filling. It's the same one that I think Peter saw.
Oh, okay.
You know, and it was it changed. I mean,
I love Peter.
It's weird because that changed.
Yeah.
Like that changed my whole direction, my whole life was that little moment. And it was me literally, my mom telling someone that she was like, oh, well, my son can really sing. People just don't know it.
Yeah.
And they were like, so yeah, he grew up. He was a good singer. He could do all these things. And I kind of hid it.
Yeah.
because I was like, I'm an athlete.
You were an athlete. You were a guy. Yeah.
I'm not going to be one of them drama nerds, you know? And that's how I felt,
Yeah,
you know?
no.
But then I look back on it now and I'm like, man, those drama nerds were the coolest people.
Yeah.
And they ended up being lifelong friends. And what I realized was where everyone thought they were socially awkward, they actually were the opposite.
Yes.
They were the most social.
Yes.
They knew how to carry conversation.
Yeah.
They knew how to keep a room alive.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't just die. You never got silence in a drama room.
No, that's true.
You know, and it was like exciting to be, it started to become exciting to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And I never felt like I was a part. I'm gonna be real, like when I was, and not because they didn't do a good job.
Right.
It's because
it's your own thing.
Yeah. In me, I was like, this isn't who I am.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like this is what I'm doing now because I have to fill the space. I am not. But as time went on, I realized, no, that's actually exactly who I am.
Yeah.
I am the person that's full of the arts. That's why I write music.
Yeah.
That's why I write poetry.
Yeah.
I write books. I do all this, but I'm like, I don't share that with anybody because I'm not that guy.
Right.
You know, I'm not going to be that guy.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I am. When I was a pastor, what was my most, what did people say I did the best as a pastor is the presentation.
That was the exhortation, talking. Yeah.
And the study.
Yeah.
And I loved the study and turning it into a piece of work, like a piece of art, so that people could understand it clearly.
Yeah.
And all of that is not because of theater. That's because that's who I am.
Right.
And I did everything I could to say that's not who I am. I even started a tech company and made thousands of dollars to say that's not who I am.
You were running from that.
Yeah, I was running from the idea of it because I had a notion of what it is. And that's a problem. And this is what I want parents to know. Because you put your kid in drama, that doesn't mean he's socially awkward.
Right.
It means you're taking someone and putting them there, and that's going to transform who they are, and they're going to realize what they really are.
Well, I feel like we're all given gifts. We know we're all given certain gifts, and if we work within those gifts, then we'll have sort of this inner joy. But I love what you said about theater, because I've always said this. People are like, oh, why did you go to OSU and study theater? I had a lot of friends that went to OSU and studied theater that aren't working in theater, but they are so good in the other things they're doing because theater teaches you so many things. I always jokingly say, as a military brat, because my dad was a pilot, I moved every 2 years. It teaches you to be resourceful. It teaches you to go into a room of people and talk to them and to be comfortable. But it also teaches you empathy and kindness and just all these skills that are so important. And I feel like there's maybe a shift. When our generation, they were kind of the theater nerds, because I played soccer and softball and I was in show choir and I was a cheerleader and also did theater. I wasn't really in with the theater kids in high school. Of course, I was my third high school. And OSU was another amazing, I loved OSU. But it was the same sort of, like, I'm not want to say stigma, that's the wrong word, but the same sort of, the theater kids were kind of weird and different and odd. And now I feel like it's switched, because my middle son, who's feral, he's 20 and he's at UCO in theater, and he did theater, and they are so accepting of everyone and they love everyone and they're cool. And I agree. I don't feel like it was like that back then, and I'm hoping there's a shift.
I think there is. And I think that what used to happen was, well, if the kids aren't playing sports and they don't have an elective, throw them into the theater class.
Yeah.
But they were actually doing them a favor.
Yeah.
And you are 100% right. Okay. I will just, Liz, she's in The Chosen.
Yeah.
Theater degree. Jamie Campbell, comedian.
Yeah.
Theater degree.
Yeah.
Podcast. Pastor. Theater degree.
Yeah.
Like, you see all these people with theater degrees and they turn around and do amazing, great things.
Yeah.
You see people with business degrees working at Starbucks.
Yeah. My friend Rachel, Rachel Tibbetts, I don't know if she still works there because I haven't talked to her in years. She in St. Louis is the head of, or is still maybe the head of, a prison acting group where they go into prisons and they work with the prisoners and they teach them about plays and acting, and they teach them classes and they put on shows. And she's done that for like 20 years. OSU theater. Like, it's not always, we're not all going to go to OSU and then go make it big and be, the next James Marsden or whatever. But it has taught us so many things that are so important in life. that I love when people say, "Oh, my kid's going to go study theater wherever they go." Although I'll plug OSU because my son's at UCO, but still, you're going to get so much out of it, so well rounded. It's just, and that's why I agree. I want kids to come and see these shows with their parents. I want the parents to see the shows. I want them to put their kids in drama camps, and I want them to talk to our congressmen and our people and say, why are we getting rid of the arts in schools? Where is the money from that? Where is it going? It's so arts is so important. Music is going away in schools. Yes. Band, choir, orchestra. Like, to me, that's just so sad.
Well, it's going to be all AI driven.
AI driven and sports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Everything's going to be AI sports, AI sports, AI sports. And then that is why it's going to be a special thing. And I think that's the beauty at this point because, for instance, the Gaslight Theatre.
Yeah.
I think there will come a time. I think the time is pretty much now. Like there is an exclusivity about it. Yeah. But what will happen is one day people will say, it's so unique that you can't miss.
Yeah.
You cannot miss human interaction. We have to go in and see it. And you'll be a part of that. And back to that theater, I'm going to circle around because I keep thinking about this. Back to that theater degree and people focusing on theater. I've heard parents say, what are you going to do with that theater? I've heard that. What are they going to do?
I've heard it too. Yeah. I mean, thank God I had my dad who had a degree in theater. But had I not, I mean, a pilot in the Air Force, I would,
So I owned a tech company and I had a whole bunch of salespeople. Right? I was a part of a network marketing company at one time and I had all of these salespeople underneath me. The greatest salespeople were these two. Theater kids, Mormons. They have two things in common. The thing they have in common is they've been rejected a whole lot in life, and yet they go to the next door like it's nothing. If you are
an excellent analogy.
When you are an actress, you get rejected all the time. So you learn to take rejection. Yeah. So when you go sell somebody and they're like, yeah, I don't want it, you're not all butthurt. You're like, okay, next. Yeah. Same thing with Mormons. They go to a door, Latter-day slunk, and then they keep going. They keep persevering through it. And then you hire those people, and my goodness, they're the best workers. They persevere through anything.
They're also, and we're very resilient, and we're also very hard workers. I don't think people understand the hard work that actually goes into putting on a production for the stage.
Oh, they have no idea.
I mean, I just for myself at 47, last summer we did Grease, and I was Cha-Cha, by the way, and it just putting on, just going back and rehearsing voice lessons, building sets, designing sets, making costumes, learning lines. And like you said earlier, way back at the beginning of this, at the community theater level, it's all volunteer. We all want to be there because none of us are getting paid. And we're taking time from our family. So we're focusing on our lines and we're working on our costumes and we're building our sets on our own. And there is so much, and even in the theater world in Broadway, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that people don't know, that theater kids and theater adults are some of the hardest working people.
Hours.
Yeah.
Hours. It takes hours. When I watched them build that set at Oklahoma State, and I was sitting there going, you have got to be freaking kidding me. Yeah. The amount of time. They put so much time into that set, it made me realize the actors aren't the show. Yeah. They're not the show.
I'll never forget, we did Dancing at Lunasa when I was there. And I wasn't in it, but I was working in the tech in the scene shop. And it's set in Scotland. And the sides of the walls of the cottage were made from styrofoam rock. And we spent weeks with little Dremels going like this to the styrofoam to shape it like rocks, covered in styrofoam. Weeks. There was a team of like 10 of us just to get one wall of this cottage that people are going to come and see the actors and maybe glance at. But just to get it shaped, not even painted. Then we spent weeks painting it. So many little things that go in that people don't even.
And it's humanly done. And that's where I think that when people realize that, they're going to go, wait, because I did see this and I was very disappointed. I saw a show once where they did a projector on the back wall for the scene setting. And I'm like, I get it. It's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy. And you don't have to pay for it, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
It doesn't look real. It doesn't look, when you have someone say, we're going to build a house that is a house.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's incredible. Like,
And there's the projector screen at the Gaslight. They use it for some shows. And there, I think, and I've said this before, so people at the Gaslight who hear this are going to go, oh, here she goes. I think there's a correct way to use it and an incorrect way to use it. I think it's used well for certain shows, and there are certain directors that use it well. And then I think there are certain directors that just use it out of laziness and because they don't want to actually have to do anything extra. And that's disheartening. I do not use it for children's theater. That's not
children's.
That's
theater.
not children's theater. That's I don't want them to watch a screen. They get that enough nowadays. So we build all of our sets, and use the psych, the blue psych. But
It's like I've understood projection screens and certain things. Like I was in a show called The Majestic Kid, and I played a cowboy, right?
Okay.
And before the show, they dropped a screen down and they were showing a bunch of the old black and white scenes from the old westerns.
Yeah.
Because that was the character. I was playing a character that
Oh,
was
I get
once
it. Yeah,
a former
yeah, yeah.
movie star.
Okay.
And so what they did was we shot scenes.
Majestic Kid. Yes, I know what you're talking about. It took me a minute.
We shot scenes of that and of me in like movies, and they included it. Like, so John Wayne's there, and then you would see me, and then all of a sudden they would see me. And wait, it's the guy.
That's well done, and that's clever and thought out.
That makes sense. Yes. But when you're like, hey, we need an Old West background, all right, just skew it in there and throw it up there. I'm like, that's not theater. That's acting class. I did a show called Sherlock Holmes in the Case of the Jersey Lily. I played the Jersey Lily. This was not at OSU. This was at the Gaslight years ago. And I was a silent film star. And so I had to go to Meadow Lake, and they filmed me like with the geese, the crazy geese. Yeah.
And it was filmed like a silent film. So everything's like really fast and then the words. And so talking about me, they would show that on the screen. So I thought that was clever to show the silent film star, like the juxtaposition of Charlie yes, it was very Charlie Chaplin. But I'm not a huge fan of the projector screen. This is not going to shock any of your Gaslight audience.
I'm not.
They're going to go, oh, there she goes.
I get it. Like, you can run advertising on it. You can do a whole lot. You can use it for great things. You could use it for maybe a certain type of lighting if you needed it. But when you say it's just going to replace the set, it doesn't feel real to me. It feels like you are watching actors pretend.
My really good friend Jason Maley directed American Idiot several years ago, and he used the screen. I don't know if you know American Idiot. It's the Green Day musical, and it was used very well. It was super cool, and it just had really cool, like with the lighting, and it worked for that kind of show.
Right? Yeah.
But then there's other shows where I think people just they use it as a crutch. But then you have to remember, again, I always say this, and I know Gaslight's a sponsor, but Gaslight Theater has a lot of volunteers that are volunteer directors, and a lot of them haven't gone and studied or,
Well, and if you don't know how to do it,
they haven't studied theater, they don't know how to back. So it's fine.
I'm not like dissing them for using it.
I'm not either.
I'm just saying I prefer it the other way.
No projector. I'm the same way.
I prefer a real car being on stage.
Yeah.
Not a styrofoam car.
Did you see Grease last year?
No, I did not.
Okay.
No, Have
you been to the Gaslight?
Yes, I've been there. Probably 2 or 3 times. But I am going to start going. Like, it is a thing. I've made a commitment to say I'm going to try and go to every show this year. Not every show, but go to at least every production once, and watch, and maybe convince my wife to let me do it.
Well, we're doing Sweeney Todd next summer. And Jason is directing it. He has a theater degree from Tulsa, and he's amazing. He's worked as an actor, and he's one of the few Gaslight directors I would work with. Not just saying that because he's one of my best friends, but he is very talented, and he is everything you want in a director, and he has a great vision, and he's doing Sweeney Todd, and I think it's going to be fantastic, and you are a good singer.
I almost got off the couch when Rent was being done.
He directed Rent.
Really? Because I almost got the couch because I was like, I was about to audition because I'd always, but there was a piece of me that said, okay, as a follower of Jesus, when I look at that show, I don't look at it and say, ooh, how judgmental bad, but I know that people would.
Yes.
And so I was.
And you were you a pastor at the time?
Yeah,
and you were probably, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that would get a lot of people, but what they don't understand is it's not about accepting a lifestyle. It's about the struggle these people are going through.
Yeah.
And most people didn't know this, but I had someone close in my family die of AIDS. And so it's really, it really is important to me that people are aware of what it was and how it worked, because it's different now. Now, I mean, I'll be real. Today, you get AIDS, you can live a normal life, and no one will ever know. But 20 years ago, it was a death sentence, and that's where, that's where they were in that show. So that's why I wanted it. But then, as I was reading it and saying, I was like, okay, man, there are going to be some people throwing tomatoes at me if I did that, but I will never throw tomatoes. Certainly in the arts, because I believe that a lot of times people can be very judgmental. 100%. And I say, take the judgment out for a moment and realize that they are showing you a piece of the world. Regardless if you agree with it or not, it is a piece of the world, and it's good to be educated and know, and also know their perspectives. That doesn't mean I agree with them. I'm gonna be real. There's so much things I watch that I don't agree with, that I'm like, I don't agree with that, but I appreciate it. I respect it, and I love the art of it.
And you come with a place of kindness. I think that's so important, because I think nowadays, for what it's worth, the world has divided people into camps, and people come from a place not of kindness. And I think that if you always are coming from a place of kindness, and you are trying to live a life to follow Christ and to emulate that in a way, you are always trying to think, what is my character? What is my conversation? What is my conduct? How do I live my life so that others see that I'm glorifying what I'm supposed to be glorifying? And that means that maybe you don't agree with somebody, or you don't like what they're doing, but you still are kind to them.
You still love them.
You still love them because of who they are, because God made them who they are.
They're made in the image of God.
Right.
And you love them exactly where they are. Exactly. That is my message always, is love people. 100%. I don't care how many times you've sinned, or how bad you've sinned, or what you've done. You still have the right to be loved where you are.
That's right. 100%. I agree 100%.
And it drives me nuts when I see the picket fences, or the picket sign, the picketing
about
people.
To get me on another podcast. I agree. I agree.
But I am a believer that love is what will conquer sin. Not condemnation and judgment. Love will. And when I look at the theater, I look at it different. I look at it as an art form, and I'm like, it's very much an art form. And so much of what goes on stage is magical. And it's not the kind of magic that people think, oh, like the trickery. It's not that. It is a magical thing to watch. Now, I'm talking about good actors.
Okay. Now, some of it's not great, but it's good. You mean when you see something good and well done? Yes.
When you see a really good actor, you see the magic in them transforming who they are into something else to show you another way of life.
Exactly. It's like they let you in to that story, and for a little bit of time you get to escape and be a part of that story. And I'm going to be a plug. My friend Maddie Mae Billings, she went to OSU after you. She's now in New York right now, and she's auditioning for a ton of stuff, and she's amazing. She lives there with her husband. She was in Once. We did Once a couple of years ago, and when I don't know if you know the show Once, probably the Irish show with Steve Kazee wrote it. It's an Irish musical. A lot of guitar stuff. You would probably like it. She taught herself to play the piano for the show. And she sat down at the piano and she would sing this song. And it was like goosebumps. It's just, when you know. And when you're in it and someone is so engaged and they're so good at what they do, and they've worked so hard, because she's a hard worker, you escape and you see them as that person, and you get what the arts are meant to do. Like, that's, to me, it's just, she's an OSU grad, so I gotta pump her up too. But man, it's just,
I'll be real. You can't go wrong with OSU. We keep talking about it. We keep talking about it, but it's like OU might have a great football team and they might win a lot of national championships, but OSU can bring it when it comes to the
Cook, who was my professor at OSU, went to OU later and taught there. So, but some of my best times in my life were at OSU. I mean, it was a great time. But yes, to go back to that, I think that it's just so important, and I really wish more people. I still think too, though, after COVID, I think people are just now kind of coming out of that. I know that was only a couple of years ago, but it feels like 20 years ago. People are now, we have all the AI stuff starting to happen right when people are starting to come out of their shells and want that human connection again. And that's my biggest fear, is for the AI is that AI is going to come in and people are just now seeking and searching to find human connection in live theater, and that's the only thing
I
don't want to
think I
happen.
think AI is amazing as a tool, but not a replacement.
Agreed.
I think people should use it for a tool, but they shouldn't use it as a replacement. And I think because when you try to replace the human condition, there's something that a person has that AI doesn't, and that's called a spirit,
Yeah, a soul.
a
Spirit.
soul.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
and that soul is their personhood.
That's right.
And AI doesn't have it. They can emulate it, but they don't have
Not
it.
well.
Yeah, but
But
that
yeah,
they don't have it. And when you have to have that, if you want true connection,
I agree.
and when and you could see it, it's really the difference between watching animation. You know, like
Yeah.
when you watch an animated film, kids love it because the primary colors. As an adult, you don't feel it as much
Yeah.
because you're like, well, I know it's just animation. It's just
Yeah.
animation. It's not,
Yeah.
you know, there's a difference between watching a cartoon, and I'm going to be more visceral so you can get the idea, but like a cartoon character, a Ninja Turtle, right?
Yeah.
Slicing up a guy with his sword
Or getting killed by a
versus
yeah.
watching it on a TV screen
Yeah.
with human beings.
Yeah.
The impact's
Well, it
different.
should be.
Yeah, it should be.
It
Yeah,
should
it
be.
should.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not. You know, it is. It's a lot
Yeah.
different. But that's the same way when it comes to love, respect,
Yes.
kindness. You can see it in animation, but you feel it when you see real life do it, and people aren't going to forget that.
No, and that's what's so important with children's theater is that kids need to learn that. I mean, kids are going to learn what they see. Kids are going to emulate their parents or their first teachers, and they're going to learn what they see. And if kids are learning and seeing children's theater, with maybe there's a message, maybe there's not, but they're seeing for however amount of time that connection and that whatever it is, then they are going to grow up and emulate. That looks really good. What is that?
This is home team nutrition.
That's nice. Looks good.
It's awesome. That they're.
Is it like cherry or?
Well, so here's what I do. This is my morning. They put liftoff in it.
It's like energy boost or something.
It's crazy. You'll go all day. You'll clean your whole house. But see, this is called the home team nutrition.
Oh.
But to follow it up to balance it out, I go
that?
with the farmhouse fresh cinnamon roll.
Oh, that's so like is that like a cream cheese crash?
Dude, I'm dead serious.
Oh, yeah,
this is not like a cheap promo. Okay, I'm being for real.
No, it looks good.
The best cinnamon roll you'll ever have.
Is it like buttercream cream cheese?
You
like
pop
homemade
it in the microwave for 5 seconds, and
sounds amazing.
you will. I'm getting chills thinking about it.
I am kind of salivating in my mouth. That's
well,
really
you can
awesome.
take it.
No, I'm good. I'm getting ready to go to lunch, but
you can take it for tomorrow morning.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
but I'm just taking away your goodness.
Oh, well, I have another one.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm totally gonna take it. I love a good cinnamon roll, and these are huge.
They're made 5-10 seconds. That cream cheese will melt, and the butter will come out, and it's like, oh my goodness.
This place has really good soup too.
Yeah, they got keto as well. Yeah. I do keto.
Oh,
so,
you do? I tried that and I stopped.
It's hard.
It made me a little crazy.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Well, I've done well, but see, I've done it 3 times in my life, really. And the first time I did it, I lost a lot of weight. Like I lost a lot. I mean, I probably lost 30 pounds.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so it was like, well, I feel great. Then I stopped, and it just kind of gradually came back.
Yeah.
And then I started again because I was like, all right, well, I gained, so I'll just kind of. And then I went to a low carb diet, and I was doing really well. Yeah. Like I was just maintaining. Yeah. And I could have a cinnamon roll, but it was like once a week.
Oh, wow.
Like it wasn't a daily thing.
Yeah.
And then when I had some hardship in my life, I went to. I gave up, and I just said, you know what? I'm going to go to Hideaway 3 times a week and get a large pizza, bring it home. I'm going to eat whatever I want and do whatever I want. And just, and
you went all in.
Yeah. And I gained probably 40 pounds.
I wonder why.
Yeah. And then I said, okay,
abs are making the kitchen.
like about a month before I started the podcast, it was probably 2 months before, I was like, yeah, if I'm going to be on camera, I have to take care of myself a little better. So I started the keto, and I've lost about 25. So
Good
yeah.
job. Congratulations.
But I'm getting to the point. I mean, I know I'm about 10 more pounds away to going back to having at least one of those a week, and I will hit the no carb or the low carb.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm doing basically under 20 carbs a day.
I couldn't live without carbs, and frankly, Enid does not want me to live without carbs. I am cranky McGee, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I need carbs. Yeah, I'm a carb girl. But I when we moved back here, I told my husband the one thing I wanted is I wanted a trainer. I wanted him. He was like, "What do you want when we get our new house?" And I was like, "I want a fireplace in our house. I want a big kitchen. I want someone to clean our bathrooms because we have a bunch of bathrooms, and I want to hire a trainer and I want to go see them twice a week." So I go to Kat at Finder Physiques, and man, I've lost so much weight and gained because I'm old and getting osteobrittle girl bones. So I'm like trying to work out, but I don't work out on that topic. But anyways, I could never do keto or. Well, you're younger than me. You're so
old is just a number.
I know. My husband turned 50 yesterday, and he kept saying, "Oh, look at me, I'm 50," and I was like, "You were only been 50 like 6 hours." Like
you're only 3 years older than me.
That's true. I am.
So when you start saying you're old,
that's true. Okay, never mind. I'm not.
That's
old.
just crushing my soul.
I always say that when so the show that I'm in right now, the Drowsy Chaperone. There's not a lot of Enid people in it, which is cool. There's OSU people in it, OSU theater people in it. There's UCO kids in it. There's a girl from OCU that has like a master in vocal. I mean, they're phenomenal.
Well, it's a good show.
They're all my son's age, and so I forget they all have like amazing cartilage, and so we're all dancing for 3 hours every night, and I'm like the lady, and I'm like, and they're like, "Let's go again," and I'm like, "Okay, let's go again." And they're like, "Yes, queen." And I'm like, "Okay."
Like, this is so fun. No, it's not.
I get home and my husband's like, "Are you okay?" I just walk right upstairs into the bath. I'm like, "Bye." I mean, it's worth it. It's a lot, but it's a lot of dancing. We have really great choreographers and.
Well, I can see people driving out of the way to be a part. It's a good show.
It is
a good show. It's funny. It's really funny.
It is funny. And the man in chair who's in our show makes a comment about it's 1928 and life is a mess and you're tired and you're depressed, but you don't care because you're going to go see a Broadway show and you're going to escape for a while. And that's what it is.
That was my intro. I basically stole it.
Your intro was amazing, by the way. I was like, I've heard this before, but it was really good. You changed it up a little.
Yeah, but because I don't want to spoil the whole thing, but it's like it is.
I know I play like the older lady in it, but she's so fun and Mrs. Tottendale, and she's kind of out. She doesn't know what century she's in. It's her house where all the weddings are happening.
Widowed.
Yes, she's widowed,
which explains a lot of how she is.
And she's kind of crazy, and she doesn't know what's going on, and. So I get to do a lot of physical comedy stuff, which I love. So I'm very happy I can still do that.
That's next month, right?
July 18th, 19th, and 20th, and then the next weekend.
I'll be there on the 18th.
I think that's opening night. Good, because opening night, Autry brings their culinary kids. They bring appetizers and hors d'oeuvres as part of their class. Oh, nice. And so they always have like stuff. But yeah, I'll be there. You'll see me. I'm in a giant dress.
I will be writing a review. So,
oh,
God. But
be kind.
All right, here. Look, this is the truth. This is the truth. I was in theater,
so you are allowed to write a review. I approve of that.
I will be respectful to everybody involved because I get it. There are people who it's their they're certainly local. Now this show's not going to be that way because there's a lot of people coming from a lot of places to be a part, but. You sometimes will go to a show and there'll be someone and you'll say this is their first show. And you can tell you don't want to destroy them because it's their first story.
You don't want to hurt them. We have a lot of we have a lot of kids from Stillwater High School that just graduated that are in this show and they're super talented. But I always, since they're my kids' age, I always feel like a little like bunny protection of them. Like be nice, but they're very good and they're very talented. And you know what I love about working with them? We kind of have a troupe of actors in Enid that kind of do a lot of the Gaslight shows and are always in the same shows. And we try to get more people in. I like the bass hookup. I talk to the bass because of my connection. We try to get more people to audition. And every once in a while we'll get one or two. But for this show, we really have a lot of new people in it. And they're just so excited and they're Like, you know, when you were young and you were doing theater and you're just like, let's do it 1,000 times. And they're just like so pumped. And everything you tell them to do, oh, I get to cross stage left. They're just so excited. It just
And
makes
I still
me
get that
excited.
confused.
I do too.
Stage left.
Stage left makes an L.
Yeah.
Come on, when makes an L, stage left. But they just get so excited. And it's so nice to see that they're just so excited. And the girl that's playing the Drowsy Chaperone, I'm her understudy. And I swear to gosh, please do not get sick. I do not want to have to step in and do all of her. She is phenomenal. She's like a burlesque singer, and she's the sweetest person. Like, it's just fun. I mean, I think it's going to be a really fun show. And the director was in once when we did it, and I stage managed that show, and I sort of asked her to put into direct. She's directed at Town and Gown. She's actually doing Legally Blonde at Town and Gown right after this show. And she's very sweet, and she has like a master's in musical theory. So we're really working on harmonies, which you don't always get in community theater. And so that to me is the beauty of let's do all the first, which I'm a first, where all the first sopranos are now singing, and it's all we did for the first 3 weeks was music rehearsal, which I loved. And it's paying off now because now we're dancing and running the show, and you can still hear all the harmonies.
And if you haven't been to theater, this is actually probably a good show to go see.
Is.
I never recommend people to see stuff that's on TV like that's popular. So like if Grease came out and it was their very first show,
Yeah.
I would be like, don't go. Why? Because you're going to be thinking of the movie the whole time.
Yeah.
This is a good show.
Because there's not a movie.
Right.
And
it's funny.
It's funny. The jokes are funny. And it's also for the older crowd, older than us. I would say my parents' crowd that loved the Golden Age musicals. I'm talking Guys and Dolls, Oklahoma, Carousel,
Frank Sinatra,
Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire, Danny Kaye. That group, that's what this musical is. It is an old school Golden Age musical with shenanigans and mix-ups and lots of dancing and lots of singing. Big numbers. Sid Charisse, everybody will love that group will love it. And I think the younger group will love it because we have a lot of more edgy musicals nowadays, which are great. I love when people push the envelope and they try new things. But there's something to be said about an old Hollywood musical.
It's a classically done.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, this would be a good one
Yes.
for you to go to for the first time. This would be a good show to go to experience that, because it's going to have, it's got every kind of character you can think of. It's funny.
It's true.
It's slapstick, but it's also
endearing.
Yeah.
Very endearing, sweet. And again, the people that are in it are they're working so hard, and they're just so. The ones that graduated from Stillwater actually are going to be at UCO with my son next year, which is going to be really sweet. So I kind of feel they're all going to be on the same floor. And that's kind of sweet. And so I kind of feel like I don't know, they probably don't see me like a mom, maybe a cool aunt, but they're just so wonderful.
I had that when I was doing local shows when I was in Shawnee. There was this lady that was there, and she was probably in her mid-40s.
Yeah.
And it was like she talked to us like we were her kids, and she just loved it. And she'll still reach out to me today.
Oh, that's sweet.
She's like, I've been watching your podcast. I love them so much.
That's so sweet.
Wow. Because it's like I said, in that community, you earn lifetime friends.
Well, it's very interesting to me. So if you watch any reality shows, people always talk about how they become so close so quickly because you're in this bubble. And that's what theater is. If you do a show with a group of people for 6 to 7 weeks and you see them every night and you're all working hard and you're wanting the other person to be successful, because if you're my scene partner, I want you to be as successful as I am or more so. So we are constantly giving and taking. You really get to know people. And then there's always, they talk about that letdown when the show's over. You know what I mean? The show's over and that's that week after where you're like, oh, I kind of miss these people. You really get to know them. And that's how it was in college, how it has been my whole career, I call it, but mostly community theater here and in Seattle and some in Missouri. But you get to know these people and it's like, you miss them.
Yeah,
you bond.
This is a problem.
Trauma bond.
With theater people, this is a problem. They love too hard. Because it's hard to let go. It's hard to let go.
You're like, it's true. That's a true
and I carry that with me my whole life. I mean, I remember. Yeah. I mean, I have like that little miss or hurt from 20 years ago I just don't know how to let things go.
Yeah, I feel that way too. When I had some really great. So I didn't actually technically graduate from OSU, so you could call me an alumni. I don't want you to get like in trouble, but I went there and then I left early to go to nursing school, and a lot of my friends were not happy that I left, and that's before Facebook or MySpace, so we just didn't talk. So for because it was 99 to it was 2000, so we didn't even have cell phones. So I fell out of touch with a lot of people. And then when I reconnected, when we got MySpace and stuff like that, there was still that people were hurt and upset that I didn't come back and finish up my whole senior year because I went to nursing school. And um, even now, like 25 years later, like you just said that and it just hit me. I was like, oh, there's still people that I don't talk to that I truly like. Sarah Armstrong, Rachel Tibbetts were my very best friends. I don't talk to them, and I haven't talked to them in years. Josh and Dava. It's like all these people that I just haven't talked to in all these years.
But they're still your family.
They are. And if they ever had called me, like if they found my website or they, for some reason, they see your podcast, they're like, oh, that's Aiaka. So I went by Aiaka when I was at OSU because it's my middle name. And when I got to OSU, there was another Mary Lentz. And she and I were both in leadership council together. And so I went to the mixer they do the first day at OSU, and they're like, introduce yourself. And so I said, my name is Mary Aiaka, Aiaka. And so everyone just started calling me Aiaka. So that's how they know me. But I don't know where I was going with that. It was a trail.
I will say when I read, I was like, that's a good stage name.
Thank you. It is my stage name. And when I signed up, so when we were down in Texas, I signed up with, Chris Freierhofer. He is a casting agent in Oklahoma City. He has a acting school. I signed up there because I thought I was going to do some like extra stuff because I would love to do extra work sometime or whatever. And I signed up as Aiaka. So yes, I do use that. And then it's funny, people from the Gaslight knew me as, my parents when I was young called me Mary Aiaka when I was in trouble. And then my Gaslight people called me Mary Aiaka. And then my OSU theater people and people from like when I was up in Washington called me Aiaka. And then when I was a nurse, I dropped that because I had a lot of elderly patients who couldn't pronounce it. So they just called me Mary. So it's interesting when I walk in a room, I can tell where people know me from by what they call me.
Hello, Mary. I must have helped your dad.
Like, oh, I probably had your dad, or like this house. Yeah. So
that's wild. Yeah, she walked in my home and she's like, "Yep, I've been here before."
Yeah, when I graduated from nursing school in 2003, I was a hospice nurse for 2 years, and I had a patient. He lived in this house and passed away in this house.
Oh my gosh, don't say that. Okay. My wife will be like, what? Someone passed away in here?
No, he didn't. He was outside.
Where was it? In this room? Yeah, don't it?
Okay,
yeah.
I'll tell you.
This
but that was a long time ago. I'm going to edit this out.
Yeah.
But anyways, so yeah, it's just weird. It's just the journey that you go on. And I had some stuff like for me, I grew up Lutheran, and then when my husband and I had some stuff happen. We had a stillbirth and we had some things happen in our life. And then that's when I got saved and my whole life took a different trajectory, how that kind of happens. And so it's just at this stage of my life at 47, being a playwright, being a member of the Dramatists Guild, having a website, being able to talk about it, being able to encourage and talk to people about the arts and children and bringing arts back to school. It's something I always wanted to do. So young Mary Aiaka wanted to do it when she was 18. To now do it 30 years later it's just funny how God just keeps everything that has come into my life came in at the right point to set me up at the right time to put me where I am.
It's what he does. Even in tragedy. It's because I think about it. Like when I resigned from a church and 1 week later met Martin Sheen.
I know. And what are the odds?
Yeah.
Like I tried to meet Martin Sheen for a week and I couldn't meet him.
And me and him hung out every day for a week.
See, that's crazy.
And I can still call him anytime I want.
How did you guys meet exactly? You told me, but
so basically my son was my son, he's adopted, and the story of the one is very close to what my son's was. And they were canvassing for homes to shoot the movie in, and they came to our house.
Oh, okay.
And
now that is a God thing.
And then I met the producer. She was on last week, Erin, and she said, "Your son's got to be in the movie." Aww. And so I was like, "All right." So she put him in the movies in this like hallway scene in a school. And then I was like, awesome. Well, then I'm dropping him off and he'd done the scene. I was with him the first day, but then the second time, then these scenes take a long time. I was like, I'm not staying this time. It's
Yeah.
too cold, right? And so I
Yeah.
start to leave. As I'm walking across, the lady stopped me. She said, "How tall are you?" And she did all stuff. She goes, "Can we use your help?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll
Were
help
you his stand-in?
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah, I was
That's
his stand-in.
cool. I was gonna say you guys kind of have a similar vibe.
Yeah.
Like I've never met Mr. Sheen, but you do have a very similar vibe.
And we like hung out the whole. And so when I was sitting, I didn't know really what I was there for. And then all
Yeah.
of a sudden, she was
Totally
like,
stand
"Young
it. I can
man,
see it.
young man, you gonna let me do my thing?" I was like, "Oh, sorry." And then I sat down, and then he came over and he started talking to me, and it was very, very encouraging. Well, it meant a lot to me. I guess that's a better, not really.
Yeah.
It meant a lot to me that when they were shooting the Blu-ray, the special features for the
Yeah.
movie, and he was sitting there, and they asked him, they said, "What was your favorite part of the show?" And they were expecting him to say, "Oh, the director, the actors, and all this." He goes, "It was the pastor."
Aww,
He goes,
that's
"Hang out
you.
with that." Yeah, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!" And then not only that, Erin was so gracious.
Yeah.
She put me in the movie,
Okay.
and then she put my wife in.
Aww.
Because my wife was there,
Yeah,
and she was
yeah.
sitting there, and I my son did it. Then Martin was like, "Get in here, do this," you know. Hey, Martin's like, "You need to be on the other side of the screen," you know. And then when he learned about my theater background,
Yeah.
he looked it up and he watched my fight scenes. He was
Oh.
like, "What are you doing, being a pastor?" You know. I was like, "Well," but he's a good dude, and like,
That's so great.
but I was just sitting there and I looked over and I go, "Erin," she was like, "Yeah," and I said, "Can you get my wife in the movie?" And she goes, "Yeah, hold on." Grabbed her, took her out there.
That's crazy.
Put her up there, handed her an item. I don't want to spoil the item, and said, "Do this right now with Martin. Do this." And she did it.
Cool.
And I was like, "Well, they could probably cut it." She made the cut.
Oh.
He made the cut. I don't know if I made the cut. It doesn't really matter.
Okay. Yeah.
I know I'm in it but you probably won't know it's me because I mean, there's a couple scenes
where your back is in.
Yeah, well,
stand-in?
my hand is going to be in it for sure because Martin left and they needed a hand.
They needed your hand. That is so funny. I didn't know your son was adopted. Yeah, our daughter is adopted. So our daughter, Katie, who's 8, we actually, so like I said, we had a stillbirth, we had some miscarriages, and then we became foster parents because I wasn't working, and we signed up to be foster parents because I had been a nurse who'd worked in ICU with drug babies, thinking we would get a drug baby. Well, we got a baby, but she wasn't a drug baby, and then we had her for 2 years, and we fought basically for 2 years. It was all about, we prayed and prayed. It was a lot, and then we adopted her when she was 2.
Wow.
Yeah, and so she doesn't know yet, but yeah, so she doesn't listen to this podcast, so viewers. But yeah, so it was, I mean, that was a big, I mean, that is what that projected me into getting saved. Then I got her. Then we moved to Seattle area, which I did the Colson thing. That projected me to work at the church. It was like a whole, but everything I did, I met people that brought me to a different place.
We'll need to come back sometime. I'll have you come back sometime and we'll talk about that specifically. Because mine was similar with my son. My son, it was a fight to death.
Ours was a fight to death.
Because he was Native.
Oh, see, ours was, our thing was, I used to always say, I can't even think of it. It's the one about the victory is the Lord, the battle is made. That was on our fridge, and I used to say that every day. And I, desires of my heart. I used to quote scripture every day, and I was very much. And then the day before we went, our attorney came, and she was like, "I don't know how it's going to go," because we had to hire an attorney to fight DHS to adopt her. And our attorney was like, "I don't know how it's going to go." And I said, "You know what? God's got it. It's going to happen." And she was like, "Oh my gosh."
That's incredible. And I owe this man. I won't say his name because I don't want to cause a news story. But this is how God worked with us. We were told that it's not happening, right? They're like, "It's not happening." And we go in and we're like, "Well, we're still going to try." And so we go in and try. We do all this thing. My wife reads this letter. My son stands up in court and says, "I have never been loved like I've been loved in this family." Aww. And so we do all this, and then we leave. And I'm not here for this, so this is hearsay, okay? Right. But I was told by an attorney that when we left, the tribal chief walked in and he said, "If that boy goes to that white family, everyone here will be fired."
Oh, wow.
And then they brought us back in.
Yeah.
And so they're like, then the judge, "We're going to hold off." And the judge said, "Come back on this date." When we came back, he goes, "Today I'm retiring. And he goes, and before I retire, I want to make sure that this boy is in your hands. So he signed the paper, handed it to me, stamped it, and then he signed his retirement paper so he couldn't be fired without the chief knowing.
Yeah.
And that's
The horse is made ready for battle. The victory is the Lord's.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was incredible. And like, so it was just like, wow, that's how God worked. And I'm gonna be real, and everybody who's watching this who knows my son knows he's legitimately the greatest boy you'll ever meet.
What grade is he in?
He's 6. He'll be a sophomore.
He'll be a sophomore. So he was a freshman last year.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he doesn't look anything like me. He's 6'1".
Well,
He's an athlete. He's tall, dark, and handsome.
My nephew
Wiley is a sophomore. He'll be a junior next year. He was Wiley Lentz, at OBA.
Oh.
And he played football, but he had to stop because he had a heart condition. Yeah. So my brother Ben has 3 kids: Eliza, Wiley, and Brink. Brink will be a freshman. Wiley will be a junior, and Eliza just graduated. She's going to OSU.
Nice.
But yeah. Hope she's not going to live with Adam. That's our son. He'll be a junior. Actually, he'll be a 5th-year senior because he changed his major. But
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. We'll do a part 2 sometime, but in a couple months. We can talk about that stuff.
I'll be home.
What about before we?
the lightning thing.
Before we? Oh, I totally forgot about that. We'll
I
skip.
told you I could talk.
Do you have any words for people to come out to the show?
To see, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think Ryan pretty much summed it up. But if you want to come out and escape and have fun, get your girlfriends together, your husband, anybody, come out and see the Drowsy Chaperone. It is so much fun. It is a great show to introduce your kids to. Even there's a little bit of entendres, but I don't think kids will get them.
Right.
And it's dancing, and the show is like 90 minutes with a 10-15 minute intermission, so it's not a long show. And they redid the whole entire Gaslight. All the seats are new. The inside the auditorium is gorgeous. They hung up posters from our old pictures from Enid, black and white. It's very pretty in there. But come see the show. The cast is super talented. And like I said, they're all young singers and actors from all over Oklahoma. Come and support them and have fun. Have a good night at the theater. Come and do something. Get off your devices. You will not regret it. I promise you. And if you do, you can come and find me. I'll be in the giant dress. You'll see me.
She'll give you a refund.
I will give you a refund.
Yeah.
No, I will not.
Well, thank you for being here today. I appreciate it.
Mine is so nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's good meeting you.